final stages, we're going to put the strings on it. So we got our string winder, our Allen wrenches, and our strings. These are the strings that I was talking about, the custom gauge sets to get a 5150 set, which you can't really get easily. So our gauges are what? 40 for the low E, 32, 24, 15, 11, and 9. So there's some unusual gauges in that set. Open up a seltzer. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to move these strings off the table. I'm going to do an eyeball intonation just to get these saddles sort of in a place where I'm likely to have them close to where I need them. Generally speaking, it ends up with two ascending sort of patterns where the low E is pretty much back. The A is a little bit more closer towards the front, so I'm going to put this pretty far back, the low E saddle. The D is going to be a little bit past the A, and then we're going to go back and pull the G back, and then go up again with the B, and then go up a little further with the E. That's generally how these things end up working. So I'm going to sort of just eyeball it, having done this a bunch before. Try to get these saddles close to where I think I'm going to need them. Yeah, okay. So I'm just going now a little bit ahead with this saddle. So we have, if you ever see like a Les Paul Jr., it kind of goes like that, down, and then that, like a lightning bolt. That's sort of the pattern we're looking for here. So I can back this G back maybe a tad. There we go. That looks good. I'm going to bring the E a little bit up towards, shorten the string length a tiny bit. Okay. Now that may be close to where it is. Who the hell knows? It could be terrible. All right, so let's start stringing. Take off the bar, or rather the clamp. Do this one at a time. Grab our 40 gauge out of our pack from Just Strings. See if we can get one out quickly. I mean, if you're on tour, this is probably the way to go as well. Although, if you're on tour, you're probably not paying for your strings. So these you probably might pay for. But it's a good idea to have them. I mean, like when Greg's out with Brad and Aerosmith, they have God knows how many strings. And if you want to see like a good video about how to like string and set up your guitar properly, on the Three Monkeys channel, which is separate than this is where I do my nonsense. On the Three Monkeys channel, you'll find some good videos with Greg showing you how he sets up Brad's guitars and how he set up Stevie Young's guitars for AC/DC, all that good stuff. All right, so we're starting with the low E, 40 gauge, and I string it backwards, so the ball end on the Floyd is sort of through the tuner, right? So it just bottoms out. There's no need to go the other way and cut it off that way. So I've got it in the slot, and then I cut it off at this end here, and I usually cut it off just about where the fine tuner is. And then a good idea with wound strings on the Floyd is to go ahead and remove the wind for, let's say, about an 1/8 inch or so that the string block is really grabbing onto the core of the string rather than the wind. If you grab onto the wind only, there is a chance that the string will pull out as it'll kind of unwind and then come right out. But if you're grabbing the core, it won't happen. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. And you don't want to over tighten these blocks too much. I mean, that's how you end up breaking them. Just put it in there like that. You're going to go ahead and use the string winder. Got to get yourself one of these. And if you ever order a pickup, if you go to like Banjo Mike's on eBay, who I buy a lot of pickups from, he always gives you a free string winder, so I got a bunch of these. So now we're just going to look at the guitar and see how we're set up. And actually, you know what it looks like? Let's see, relief. We're pretty flat on relief, so we're going to need to loosen our truss rod a little bit. Okay, and the action, you know what, I think we're going to need to remove one shim from the neck pocket. So we'll loosen this up a little bit and we'll go ahead and remove a shim. As I said, we might be taking this guitar apart, taking the neck off several times to dial everything in, because really you can kind of ballpark things, but in the end, the final result is really dictated by what you end up with. So let's remove one of these shims, put the other one back in, put our neck back on, turn it around, grab the driver again. Don't use these just to, you know, drive your screw home. Just get it close and then use a hand tool to go the rest of the way. That way you don't risk, you know, stripping out your good, you know, neck wood right there and end up having to, you know, plug it. That's always not fun. So here's our Phillips head. So we're going to go ahead and again, I go with the back ones first. Finish up the last few turns. Tighten it down. Okay, and that looks good. So let's flip it around and see what we end up with. Let's go up to tension a little bit. You know what? We may not have needed, I mean, this is low action. This is probably what Eddie would have liked. I don't know how low his action is, actually. But I think we don't need a shim. I think we're going to take out the other shim. To me, I don't think it's necessary. So that's interesting. Maybe we'll find out why we're not needing a shim, and that may become another issue all in itself. I hope not. But when you're building guitars, these things are like kids. Some just can't get right. They all come out a little differently, and some of them will drive you nuts. You know? Something's going on here. Let's check this again. I'm not liking the way this is lining up. Something was misaligned. Take the neck out again. There we go. Shove it down. Yeah, here we go. Now we're able to thread these in by hand, practically speaking, which is how it should be. Yeah, we had it a little cockeyed, I guess, before. Maybe rushing a little bit, because we're burning daylight, as they say, trying to get this guitar finished. When you're under pressure, sometimes you make some weird mistakes. Okay, let's tighten this guy back down and see what kind of action we're looking at. Maybe we're going to put that shim back in again. Yep. So I think we had it cockeyed. I think we had the neck in a little strange. When we pulled out the first shim, I don't think we had the neck back in correctly. So let's go ahead and put that shim back in. As I said, we might end up finding, you know, and we needed to put it back in. But the neck went in a little strange, which can happen. So let's go ahead and put our shim back in there. Good. Gonna seat the neck. There we go. Make sure that we can start our screws by hand, that they're in there. Yep. The wax on the threads obviously helps with all that. So let's go ahead and bang these home. And I'll give it a little tighten with the hand driver. Okay. There we go. There we go. Let's see how it's seated now. I think that's about right. So we need to lower the bridge just a smidge. A smidge. And that's about, I think that's pretty good right there. All right, so I think we're in good shape. There's our first noise with it. Cool. All right, so let's get our next string, which is a 32. Let's pull another string out of this here pack. Again, coming from the headstock down, leaving the ball end as your stop. Am I gonna have to call somebody to help me thread the needle? Going blind. Get the string under the bar is always a good idea. Okay, again, cut the string off at about the fine tuner, middle of the fine tuner. Go ahead and remove the wind, the wrap. This is again a wound string, and we want it to grip the core, taking off whatever, 1/8 inch, 3/16, whatever it is to get it down to get it down to bottom out in the lock here. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and tighten this down. Wrap it to tension. We've even got drill powered. Oh yeah, that's nice. Good, 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 good. All right, get rid of these two guys. Now we're gonna put in the next string, which, if I remember, 24 gauge wound. And I'm happy with lighter gauge strings too. I mean, a lot of guys like using, you know, the heaviest gauge strings they can tolerate to give themselves the tones that they're looking for. I hate to struggle like that. So I know when people come and they pick up a guitar that I've got for myself and they bend the string, it goes up like 3 steps. Like, what do you got on this thing? Sometimes they're like 6s. I'm like, well, sometimes it might even be 7s. I got some of those strings that Reverend Billy uses, Billy Gibbons uses, those custom strings, and they go down to like 7 gauge. He's got. And that was common, I think, more so back in the day. There's some story about, I think it was like Clapton, Eric Clapton meeting B.B. King. I could be confusing all this because I'm old and dumb. But meeting B.B. King, and King was advising him, why don't you get yourself an 8 gauge E string, like a banjo string. He's like, why make it hard on yourself? You know, just go ahead and, you know, make it easy on yourself. There's no reason to make it difficult. But then you got Stevie Ray, right? Guys like him. Who else would be like that? Oh my God. Phil Collen from Def Leppard. His high E, I think, is a 13 or a 14 gauge. It may even be more than that. He probably breaks walnuts like with his pinky, like that, crack. Got some strong hands there. This is coming together pretty good with one shim. I like it. All right, so let's put the G on. 15 gauge for the G. And when I was a kid, like when I got my first guitar, well, my first guitar was a total embarrassment. Bought it from one of the kids at school for, I think it was like $30, and that was a ripoff. It was a total pile of no-name garbage. But I painted it up with like white spray paint because it was sunburst, and I thought it looked horrible. It was a disaster. That didn't last very long, and then next guitar I got was some Les Paul that was bought at Sam Goody for my like 10th birthday. But anyway, I was one of the lucky kids on the block to get a Kramer when I was like, how old would I have been? 14? Something like that? 13? A B series Pacer, and it had the Floyd on it. And what I used to do is I used to wind about the whole string, as much string as I could get on the end. So I cut it like off here, so that way when I broke the string, it usually broke here, I just roll out more and put it back in, and not have the strings on the guitar for like years. But what I didn't realize is that the crimp that took place at the locking nut kind of made everything really weird. So yeah, that wasn't a very good thing, as it turned out. Thought it was a good thing, wasn't really. So now I just cut it off, just to get, you know, probably I'm even leaving too much string there. So let's go ahead and put on the 11. So basically, yeah, my G string is like my G string. is as thick as Phil Collins' E. That's an embarrassment. So you probably want to be fast forwarding through this, I don't know. But you never know. So we might find something interesting. Because obviously this is all just, I don't know what's going to happen. I haven't staged anything or pre-done anything to make sure anything works. You know? Sort of like watching a high wire, the Flying Melendez live. Oi. Actually, I did do that. I forget where he was walking, and he fell off the thing on television and was killed. The father or the grandfather, that was horrible. The Flying Melendez. Should have been working with a net instead of live without a net. Haha. Good God. I should ask Greg how the hell he does this in the dark. You know? No, actually, he doesn't. What am I thinking? This is all done while probably while they're hanging lights. I mean, sometimes on the road, I shouldn't say too much about all this stuff, but sometimes out on the road, the road managers, the tour managers, they're a little nervous. So they have like the backline guys, which are like, you know, the guitar techs come in at like 7:30 in the morning. That's their lobby call will be at like 6 in the morning. And see, wow, this is why we were doing it live. That just slipped right out of there. No, it broke. Interesting. So as I was getting back to, we're just going to dump out the piece in there. There we go. Yep, it certainly did break. We might find that string block has an issue with it. That there may be a burr in there. So that shouldn't have happened. Well, anyway, sometimes the road managers will have tour managers will have the backline guys come in really early in the morning, and there's nothing to do. I mean, they got to build the stage, they got to hang the lights, they got to do all kinds of stuff, and sound check usually is until like 4 in the afternoon. So what do you do all day? You know, so you sit there and you string guitars. You know, how many do you have on the road? I don't know. If you work for Steely Dan, you could probably spend all day doing it. Some other guys, they only travel with, you know, a few. I think Brad usually travels with like 1 vault, maybe 6, 10, 12 guitars. But he'll usually hone in on 1 or 2 or 3, and the rest of them will just sit. He'll find one that he really likes. I think right now, they're out there, and they stopped by Paul Reed Smith's factory while they were doing something, playing at Washington National Harbor, and he picked up these John Mayer guitars, the Paul Reed Smith Strat, and Brad's just in love with the thing. In fact, Greg has to have Brad distracted so he could go and grab the guitar out of the dressing room so he can restring it or fix it or set it or do something to it, so Brad doesn't end up taking it home, taking it back to the hotel at night, because he keeps doing that because he loves the guitar so much. So he's probably going to be playing that. You're going to see a lot of that guitar from him in the near future. Yeah, I think we're good here. You know what? Oh, okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. We might end up putting that other shim back in or something similar. Something a little bit. We were at like 30 thousandths. We might want to go to, let's say, like 25 thousandths for a shim, just to get it perfect. So now we're tightening up the claw here, moving it, tightening down the screws to stretch the springs to kind of even itself up with the spring tension. Try to get as much as we need to keep the Floyd comfortably snugged against the body, but not so bad that it won't be easy to move. So I think we're good there. Yeah. And obviously, I think a bunch of these strings are way sharp right now. All right, so I think we'll stop this one here, and then we're going to do intonation. So that'll come up next.